I've loved it. I'm not going to lie. It's been great, and it's taken me into areas of Star Wars that I would never have normally explored, and I feel all the more richer for doing it.
It's a positive film. It has heroes and villains, and that it essentially is a fun movie to watch. It's been a long time since people have been able to go to the movies and see a sort of straightforward, wholesome, fun adventure.
Well, it's a fantasy. It's not science fiction so much as it is space fantasy. And it's about people. It's finally about people and not finally about science.
The story, when you actually put it into words, is only so much nonsense to hang a great visual experience onto. It's the stuff that fairy tales are made of.
Sort of boiling down religion into a very basic concept. The fact that there is some deity or some power or some force that sort of controls our destiny works for good and also works for evil.
Marvelous, healthy innocence. Great pace, wonderful to look at, full of guts, nothing unpleasant. I mean, people go bang bang and people fall over and are dead, but, no horrors. A sort of wonderful freshness about it, kind of like a wonderful fresh air.
It's got whatever you want it to be. It's pure entertainment. It's like a roller coaster ride, and it can be interpreted as long as you enjoy it, which is the intention.
Hello and welcome to Generation Skywalker. It's been a little while since we put a show out, but this is a bit of a special show. If you didn't know, on the 7th of February, we lost our co-host and good friend, Craig Spivey, who had been battling cancer since before Generation Skywalker started, so a long time. And so tonight we are having a show which is just going to celebrate Craig. I mean, he was one of a kind and one of the nicest, warmest, honest people you could ever meet. So I'm looking forward to just reminiscing with some good friends here and just celebrating everything that Craig was about with regards to Star Wars and general life. With me tonight, I've got Jez. Good evening, Jez.
Good evening, Stu.
Off the cuff, Jez, one word that instantly springs to mind with Craig.
Luminous.
Dan Burgess is with us as well. Good evening, Dan.
Good evening.
One word.
Smiley.
We've also got Peter Lee. Good evening, Pete.
Evening, Stu. How you doing?
I'm all good, mate. All good. One word.
Gentlemanly.
And joining us, former co-host of Generation Skywalker and one of Craig's closest friends and allies. And, they're a bit of a double act when it came to design and stuff. And we've got Mark Daniels with us. Good evening, Mark.
Good evening, guys.
How would you describe Craig, Mark?
Legendary.
Yeah, he truly was. And he was. I met him in 2015. I did an interview when I was on the Vintage Rebellion, and I hadn't met Craig at that point. I think I'd come across him a couple of times at Star Wars events, but not really spoke to him. And I did this interview with him, and in the build-up, when you're chatting to him online and whatnot, he's like, "Oh, really nervous. He's out my comfort zone." But you put him in that area, and you get him talking about stuff he loved. He just went. It was one of the easiest interviews you could ever do. His passion and knowledge for his subject was incredible. And we know that from doing Generation Skywalker. Mark, when did you meet him? I mean, it's a long time ago. I know your relationship with him is probably the oldest here.
Yeah, it's nearly 10 years ago now. When I first started collecting, or sort of going after the Beyond the Toys type of things, like the Helix and the Letter Set, and I was on the UK forum, I kept getting this name mentioned, Craig Spivey. You need to speak to Craig Spivey. And he wasn't on the forum, and social media, Facebook-wise, hadn't really taken root back then. And he wasn't on Rebel Scum or anywhere like that, but a couple of people knew this guy as a collector of old, and they all said the same thing. Oh, if you're collecting Helix and stationery and all that kind of thing, you need to have a word with Craig Spivey. So I was aware of his name. I was aware of his collection, because if you Google images Star Wars Helix, his collection is right there at the top. And I think it's when his collection was in his loft. So I used those pictures as almost like a checklist of things that I needed to get and look out for. But my first interaction with him actually was via eBay. I bought one of the Lions made C-3PO masks from the 1977 line, the promotional giveaways. When I received it, it got his name on the return address. So I messaged him back. I said, "You're Craig Spivey. I've been told about you." And we struck up this conversation via eBay messaging, and we exchanged details. And that's how we got to know one another. So yeah, it's a bit of a sort of long-winded story. It wasn't like a sort of meeting at a show or anywhere like that. But I knew about Craig long before I actually got to meet him in person.
It's incredible, really, though, isn't it? Those little kind of comments and then what you two went on to work on together, and just that relationship. Yeah, incredible.
I did say to him that in the 10 years that I knew him, I achieved more than I've done with people I've known my whole life, my whole life. And we'll touch on some of this later on, but he was just a complete force of nature. He really was.
Yeah, and I think going to his funeral and hearing people talk about him and stuff, and actually, you knew it, but when people are saying it, and you're like, yeah, he did that, and he did that, and he did that, and yeah, it was one of a kind. I think a lot of people can learn a lot from him. Jez, where did you meet Craig for the first time?
Do you know what? I was thinking about that earlier on, and I think the first time I might have met him would have been in Chicago Celebration 2019. I think it might have been as late as that, because as Mark said, he wasn't really a regular forum user, but I just met this, I don't know, larger than life person. I said luminous, I could have said colourful. There was nothing drab about Craig, everything about him, be it the hats, the shirts, just the enthusiasm just comes across in his voice. And when face to face, it was even more so. It was Chicago.
I can remember talking to Craig about how he met people and he couldn't remember the meeting you, Jez. Dan?
It was Chicago as well, but I know for a fact he doesn't remember me because I asked him about it. Grant introduced me to him very briefly on the first day of Chicago, but I think the first time I ever had a conversation with him was whatever show we first recorded, the Generation Skywalker. That was my first real contact with him. I saw Mark, Grant and Craig do their panel at Celebration, the Helix panel. That was the first time I kind of saw him speak. But then, yeah, it was when we first recorded, I started to develop a relationship with him.
And Pete, I think yours was quite recent, really.
Yeah, it was going back. It was that first Echo coming back after COVID. So I think it was August 21 when he and Grant were there and they were interviewing everyone. And Grant kind of collared me for an interview, and Craig was with him, and then he interviewed me and Paul Davis at the same time. I just got chatting to him then. And, just totally natural. Straight away, you just sort of chatting away, and it felt like you sort of knew him for a long, long time. But that's the first time I actually chatted him. But yeah, like all of us, well aware of him just via the Celebration panels and just knew of his collection. Like you said, Mark, just when you Google certain things in Star Wars displays and that room he had, that loft, which I guess is in Leamington, isn't it? Which is previous house. When that just comes up and you just think, oh my God, that's how you display a toy and sort of the Star Wars collection. So yeah.
Those photos, Mark, you'd probably know this. They were in a magazine in the 90s, weren't they? Was it Starburst? Springs to mind. I might have that wrong.
You know what? I'm not sure.
I got it somewhere.
It was SFX.
Was it?
Oh, right, SFX, yeah.
I remember him sending me the images of it. It was just like, yeah, I've done this article, and it was just like...
Wasn't he their collector of the month or something like that? I'd love to find the issue.
Yeah, I've got it somewhere. I bought it, but you know what my room's like. One thing Craig never let his illness never dictated him. He carried on doing it, and I know his wife Kimberly, who our listeners may have heard, she comes on the beer shows and hosts us and stuff. She's currently in Canada doing a trip to certain things that her and Craig had always wanted to do. And I noticed on one of her social medias she doubted about going, and one of Craig's mottos was, "If not now, when?" And I think there's something in that we can all live by, you know? How many things do you put off? Oh, I'd like to do that. I'll do that next year. but he definitely lived for the moment. And Mark, I'm going to come to you because something that you and a couple of other collectors did, Kimberly came with you, Grant, Darren, you had the opportunity to go to San Francisco at the end of last year, 2023, and fulfill some dreams and make some fantastic memories. And what a fantastic thing to do at that point.
It was very much a trip of a lifetime. When people say that, it was very true in every sense of the word. And it was a great honour to have been able to have gone on that trip with Craig and Grant and Darren and Kimberly. And we were joined by two of Craig and Kimberly's American friends, Will and Robin. And we just had the time of our lives. And we very, very nearly didn't go because Craig was starting to get poorly at that particular time. When it was Echo Live at the weekend just gone. And whilst I was there, I was remembering that Craig was actually at the last Echo Live and he did look poorly. And he told me that he was feeling poorly. And this was just before we were about to go. And we said, look, Craig, if you can't go, then we'll have to postpone it and wait and see if you're feeling better early part of next year, which I'm so glad now that we did actually go through with it. And he said, no, I want to go. He'd spoken with the doctor and the doctor had told him, go on the trip. If you've got the energy, go on the trip. He did struggle at times, but for a large part, it didn't stop him. We managed to see and do so many different things. And I do want to say sort of one thing. And when I talk about it, I do get a bit emotional. When we went to Skywalker Ranch, you're going to have to bear with me, you guys.
Yes, Mark, they are.
When we went to Skywalker Ranch, he was really struggling to walk. And at the end of the tour, he said, look, guys, I'm going to have to sit down. So don't worry about it. We'll go and get the van and bring the van up and we'll pick you up because you're not allowed to draw cars up to the house. So we had to walk from the car park to the house. And Pete Vilmer, who was our host, said, take a seat on the veranda and just have a rest and we'll go and get the cars and we'll come and collect you. Don't worry about it. And as we walked away, I remember looking back and seeing Craig sat on the veranda by himself, wearing a Stetson that he bought from the flea market that we attended. And he was sat there by himself and the sun was shining and there was nobody else around. And it was just a lovely image of Craig sitting on the front of Skywalker Ranch where George and Steven Spielberg and so many other people must have come and gone. And I always remember him sitting there and thinking what must be going through his mind right now. And I did say to him, I said, I'll remember that when you sat there. And then he said, when I go for my cancer treatments and I'm in a dark place, he says, he told me that's where he will be and that's where he'll take himself to, because it was a real sort of magical moment. And yeah, very difficult to talk about. And I wasn't expecting this at all because I've not really mentioned it to many people. But when I think about Craig, that is the picture that I think about. And it was just a really sort of beautiful image. Him sat on the front of Skywalker Ranch all by himself.
Our last ever Generation Skype was on the 3rd of January as a team when he was telling us that, he'd had some bad news and he was going into a hospice and stuff. And he relayed that story and said that he sat on those steps and he cried and he explained what went through his head. And do you know what, mate? What you've just said in his hat, in a true Craig style, what a way to remember him, mate. That's how he should be remembered. A great story, and I really thank you for sharing that.
I can say one thing, that he really pushed himself on that trip. He did not let it, don't get me wrong, he did struggle at times, but he didn't let it prevent him from doing the things that we wanted to do. And he didn't complain once.
Mark, can I just, first of all, massively thank you for coming to join us tonight, because Craig's passing is naturally knocked everyone for six, and we just didn't know what to do. We didn't know where to go. It's really taken it out of everyone. So to have one of Craig's dear friends come on and share that story, and as Stu said, share a story which Craig has said to us on Skype and then face to face, it meant so much to him, that trip and that time. I think it was the term, that's the closest I've got to sort of Star Wars Nirvana, where he explained how it was and how he just took that moment. And we're going to visit him in January. He again just said that story. So it was quite clearly so very, very important to you, him, Grant, everyone. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, mate.
You're very welcome, guys. It's like I say, I don't I don't generally get emotional, but when I think about that, it when you think about somebody's passion, life passion, something that they've loved all their lives, and then for their sort of towards the end of the life to be able to sort of cap it off in such a perfect way, I can't describe it really.
He achieved so much, didn't he? With respect to kind of like ticking the boxes of things that he wanted to do. Now, I'm just going to play something here from the very first ever episode of Generation Skywalker. Mark, you were actually on that. I think it was yourself, me, Jez, Craig, Grant and Simon McCohen at the time. And we all discuss why we've decided to do Generation Skywalker. And here's a little intro for that. It's quite wonderful. Now, Craig, when it comes to Star Wars, what is Star Wars to you?
Oh, it's so many things. I think, originally when I first saw it back in 1978 in the cinema, it was the escapism, it was the colour, it was the design of the characters, it was the adventure of everything. That's a common thread for everybody, I'm sure. But as, I've grown, it's become a link to my past, a link to my childhood. And now the collecting side of things, particularly, I'm sat here talking to you guys. That wouldn't have happened without Star Wars and sticking my head above the parapet and showing some of the things I've had tucked away in my loft for many years. So the internet's kind of done that. The internet's kind of brought us all together, and so it's a big part of my life.
It really is, mate. And obviously we've been working behind the scenes on putting Generation Skywalker together now for a few months, and you've been absolutely vital to that. I've never known anybody to get stuff done so quickly.
Passion, and it's a wonderful distraction from the dull things I have to do in my day job. So yeah, it really is something that I enjoy and I get a lot out of, and it's nice to be part of the community, and this being involved in this project is formalizing that a little bit. I've never been that front and center in the collecting community, but maybe this will change.
Fingers crossed. He says that he struggles to put himself out there, and it was something that he always said. But in fairness to Craig, he always did push that. And when you go through some of the stuff that he did, you wouldn't think that of Craig. You would think actually he was quite an exhibitionist and liked that attention, because he's done some crazy stuff. But we'll let some of you take this. Dan, now Craig ended up being a Luke Skywalker cosplay for the Irish Tourist Board. I mean, I think he spent, someone else will know here, I think he spent the whole of Celebration 2016 in London dressed as Luke Skywalker by their stand.
He had the beard, he had the hair, decided to cosplay as Luke Skywalker from The Force Awakens, and the Irish Tourist Board had him as their Luke Skywalker.
I always think they should have sent him there, really.
Yeah.
You're doing all that thing. Give him some actual...
I've never seen any material of it. I don't know, Mark, have you seen it? Was he in a brochure or was he on adverts? I don't quite know where he ended up with that.
No, I think it was just at the exhibition, wasn't it? I don't think we did actually talk at one point of actually going to Skellig Michael, but at that point he was just it would have been too much for him to have done. because it is a really treacherous place to get to.
It's one of those places could be perfect for them to land a boat, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I just thought, I mean, I saw him there. I just thought he really liked that stand at Celebration. It was just like really hovering around it, a bit of a fanboy. But yeah, it was only a few years later when he was like, oh no.
He had the gravitas to pull it off, though. It was like, the sort of 2016 version of Balin's Skull. He was there, and he just looked the part.
I think that was the first time I actually seen him away from. That's the first time I saw him in person. I mean, he did look pretty intimidating in that. I was like, it's one of the stage shows was going on, and he was kind of like 10 meters in front of me, and I was like, blimey, he wore it well.
I mean, I'm not sure where it is. It was definitely his Skype picture, but the photo of him and J.J. Abrams and Oscar Isaacs, because he attended the Force Awakens premiere. Do you know how that came about, Mark? Okay, Mark, I'm going to ask you a lot of questions tonight because you got the inside knowledge.
I can't remember. I think he got the tickets from. Do you know what? I don't recall.
I think he talked about it on a show, and it might have been the trailer show he did earlier on the show or last year when we did the retracing the trailers. He said he got the tickets from, and I'm guessing it's Paddy. I don't know for certain, but I would guess it was Paddy. Yeah, and he attended the premiere and then went to the after show, and he talks about how he kind of stood around and got the temperature of the room, and then, got a bit brave, drunk a few cocktails and started going up to J.J. Abrams and a few of the others and getting selfies.
In such a Craig shirt as well. It was a really, really bright shirt. Yeah, brilliant photograph on his profile.
I always love when his wedding photos pop up on Facebook and whatnot, and it's like everything about his wedding images is just Craig. The brightness, the happiness in their faces. Yeah, I always think those photos just literally are so representative of just how you remember him, and colourful, smiling. Yeah,
that's why I said smiley. He was always smiling. I've got a few pictures up in my office, and he's just always full of smiles.
I think one of the things I sort of take away from Craig is one of the things why we got on as well as we did was he was kind of the yin to my yang. He's very much a people person, very happy-go-lucky. I'm really quite miserable, don't like people, happy in my own company. Whereas Craig is really quite gregarious and just loves being with people. Really friendly guy.
Yeah, I mean you went to many events with him, Mark. I mean, Collector's Track 2016 and 2023 in London.
They would not have happened if it hadn't been for Craig. Craig was the glue. I mean, Grant had brought a lot of knowledge to the table. I brought some sort of illustration skills to the table. But Craig, where credit is due, it was, a lot of it was Craig. He put together all the presentations. What a driving force he is with anything creative. He really sort of hammered that whole thing into shape and put it into the right order and, drew up the speeches and stuff like that. I mean, it would not have happened without him. The whole Helix anniversary range, it would not have happened without him. It was his tweet originally that sort of brought it to Helix's attention. And then giving the presentation to Helix, what we would do with the next range and the next steps. A lot of it was him.
I mean, the Helix story is fascinating in itself, and I would urge people. It was our 6th ever episode of the podcast where Mark and Craig just break down this journey with Helix and how they took the product back to Helix staff who hadn't seen the items, had they? They weren't even aware they'd made them. It's a fascinating tale. And
we had no idea they were going to do it either. I mean, they literally brought the whole of the staff down into the warehouse, and we were showing them bits of Star Wars Station. And at one second, all three of us kind of looked at one another as if to say, "Is this really happening?"
I mean, actually, go and watch that on YouTube because Craig has illustrated that with like some of the designs you did, stuff that didn't make it. Joe, what? Probably one of the best shows we've done. It is so good and so good to watch. Yeah.
It was a great journey to go on, and it was a unique journey to go on because very, very few people get the opportunity to bring something back to life that they love from the original sort of incarnation of it. And we felt really honoured. It felt like something really special and we put our heart and soul into it, and I'm hoping that kind of came across. And again, Craig's passion, Craig's knowledge, Craig's business acumen all came to the fore, and just it was a perfect storm for all three of us. We were able to do it together. It was just, just great. And then obviously going to Comic-Con and doing the Comic-Con thing that we did with Helix as well. That was something else that we did together. Just a great experience.
And obviously your presentation in 2016 proper destroyed the Helix market price-wise, didn't it? It went mental.
We really shot ourselves in the foot. What we did before we did it was we made sure that if there was anything that was coming up on the market, make sure you get it before we do the presentation.
Yeah, it's never come back down. One area that's always kind of held its value, isn't it? It's been
It really has. I mean, it's still, even today, it's still really hard items. They're hard items to find.
Now, I don't want to sit here and us talk about Craig's funeral. I mean, it was a really emotional service. I don't think I've ever been to a funeral service like that where, in particular, a close friend of Craig's, Paddy, who did the eulogy. I've never been at a eulogy where 1 minute you're literally laughing out loud and the next minute you're in floods of tears. It was something that I can't really explain unless you were there to witness it. It was really a really touching thing, and I came away and I've told people about that because of how it made me feel. But I just want to touch something in Paddy's eulogy, which I thought really highlighted Craig. And he said that when he made his first, I think it was film or TV show, Craig had got a frame and he had sprayed painted some dinosaurs, silver and gold, and he'd put them in this frame, and he had written on the back, "Your first of many." And Paddy then, he went on to say in that thing, that was Craig. He was the one person in life that always was cheering your corner more than anyone else. And it kind of stuck with me that actually, when I came away from it, we've had so many chats with Craig over the last few years whilst doing Generation Skywalker, and he doesn't have a bad word to say about anyone. He was always positive. If you were doing something, he'd always he'd send you a message, that's brilliant. He was such a positive outlook, and it's something that made me reflect. Actually, his whole funeral made me reflect on a lot of stuff. And was there anything you learnt about Craig at that funeral that you didn't know beforehand?
I think it just reinforced a lot of things we know about him. I found myself thinking, wow, it's not just me that feels like this, or it's just us that feels like this. There are just so many people with so many stories about him. And, Paddy's whole thing was, he met him and he wasn't sure. And it kind of drew parallels with my relationship with him. I didn't really know him when we started Generation Skywalker, and it, turned into this, to a really good friendship. I don't think, because it wasn't the sort of eulogy where it's like, Craig Spivey was born on da-da-da, and he did this and he did that. It was more personal than that, wasn't it? But I think a lot of people could probably draw parallels with their own relationships with him.
But I think it also brought that sort of Team Craig together as well. That seemed to be quite a theme going through the day, that everyone who was there, you'd meet Craig and then you'd join the ride, once you were kind of met him and you were in the circle, you start meeting other people. There's a lot of people I've met just through knowing Craig, and just that group, I think, seems sort of similar. There's so much togetherness in that room. I think everyone had sort of been through that journey and seen what Craig had gone through. I guess that bonds everyone who does see it from afar. And it's going back to that, what you said at the start, Stuart, and it was on Kimberly's post, that if not now, when? I think that you can take so much from that, and I think that shines through in everything that Craig did.
And I've got to say, I think a lot of this was on you as well, Mark, but I have never been to a funeral. Now, anyone that follows Generation Skywalker, you will know that Craig had a huge love for Look-In magazine. There's a terrific blog on our website, which I think Dan will continue with the research that Craig had started. He had done the Look-In presentation at Celebration, and you went in, and on the bench, looking back at you, was this like, I want to call it an order of service, but was it an order of service really? It was a look-in magazine, and it was fantastic. I sat there and I read it when I first went in, and it had a real effect on me. I mean, that letter to Kimberly from Craig in there alone is one of the most moving things I've read in that situation. But he'd got like a picture of him on an operation table, like the old game Operation, and it was pointed to the things that he'd had done to him. So that sense of humour had been there. And Mark, I know that you had done a lot of the design for that. It really was a great idea and piece.
It's typical Craig. I didn't know anything about it until I went to see him the first time at the hospice, and he said, "Look, I've got a favour to ask. I need you to do some work for me." And Craig and I have worked together professionally on many projects. And I said, "Yeah, absolutely. What do you need?" And he told me and said, "I want an advert that looks like an operation to go in a eulogy." And I thought, "Ooh, it's a bit of an odd thing to want to do." I said, "Yeah, right, okay." So we sketched something out while we were sat there together, and we said, base it on the old Operation game, and this, and this. And I said, "Leave it with me. I'll do it tomorrow. I'm free all day. I'll crack on with it." And I sent it through to him, and he said, "Perfect. Got exactly what I want." He says, "Can you do some more for me?" And it kind of snowballed into this huge project. And I'll be looking to get an A5 photocopied bit of paper for my order service. Craig, as Craig is, pulls no punches. It's absolutely got to be A1, completely unique. We ended up basically creating like an annual, like you said, like a look-in type thing. And I did the cover for him. I sketched the cover out for him. And the next time I went to see him, and we agreed what we were going to do and how it was going to look. And there was quite a lot of people involved with it. It wasn't just me. There was Craig's old graphic guys that he'd worked with over the past, and advertising agencies and whatever. And it was a really great project to be involved with, just working on that. But again, it was strange sort of sitting there and talking to the person whose order of service it was. We were discussing it in any sort of detail, but it was, like I say, it was a great honour to have been involved in producing something like that. And it was very difficult. It was a very hard job because he kept sending me photographs of when he was little, and Christmas days, and with his friends throughout his life. And I spent, a good couple of weeks on that, and it really, I'm glad he's not here to hear this now, because it really brought me down. It was a very tough job to do. As honoured as I was, it was just very sad. But we did him proud, I hope. I'm sure he would have been happy with the end result. I know that Kimberly loved it, so I'm just honoured to have been able to have helped him on that.
I loved it, Mark. I've got it bagged and boarded with my look-ins in my little look-in box. It's in there with them.
Oh, bless you, mate.
It's I love the pull out in the middle as well. I'm thinking of framing that and hanging it on the wall.
I question your taste there, Dan.
It's perfectly fitting for Craig. It couldn't have been any better. And I know that, as you say, it got you down. But when you look back, hopefully if there's any sort of, cathartic or any positive to come out of it, just everyone's is it a celebration of his life? Yeah, maybe it was, but it was exactly what he wanted. It exactly summed him up. It was perfectly on pitch. Yeah, sometimes you don't appreciate stuff when you're doing it, do you? And it's when you look back, you think, yes. And hopefully you'll have that, because, everyone says it's perfect.
Well, then our work is done.
I think that also shows just the way Craig dealt with his illness as well. That those latter weeks he's there and he's thinking of things like that. And we've mentioned Kimberly already several times tonight, but Craig would always point to her as this kind of like figure of strength and how he got through it. And there's a relationship there. There's a couple there that were made for each other. She's doing amazingly well, what I can see. So
she done him absolutely proud. She was, she supported him through all of that, all the things that he wanted to do, he wanted to get done, sending the comms out to us guys, telling us, giving us updates. She was just a powerhouse. I think through all of what they've been through, if I can be as half as dignified as they were, then I'd feel good about it. But they were both superb.
They complement each other absolutely perfectly. I've never met anybody like Kimberly. The same with Craig. I've never ever met anybody like Kimberly. Again, she's another force of nature, and she really did Craig proud. And before and since, just an incredible person. An honour to know.
And just on the subject of order of services, I've never, obviously I thank Craig. I never publicly thanked him, but I've lost both my grandmothers over the last couple of years. 2022, late in the year, I lost one nan, and then at the end of last year, I lost the other. And Craig demanded to do the order of services for both of them. He offered the first one and basically said he was doing the second one. And, even when he was ill, my nan died of cancer as well. And he did that for me, so I've got those as a memory of him as well. Such a nice thing to do, given what he was going through as well. He was doing that for people. Just amazing.
I'm going to bring to the table Ben Kenobi pencil case by Helix. I don't think I've ever told this story. This is the story of how I got into Helix and stationery, which was quite by accident, really. So I'm going back to the kind of late 1990s, and I lived and worked in Coventry, and a shop opened which sold stamps and coins and sort of pop culture memorabilia. So I would go to this shop every kind of payday, every month, and I would treat myself to a figure that I didn't have. And this became a regular occurrence. It was something I used to look forward to. I saw an opportunity because this guy had set up dealing, like I say, in kind of a broad range of collectibles. And I had my childhood collection of stamps, right? So growing up in the 70s, invariably you'd get an album for Christmas and Auntie would buy a stamp album. And I kind of half-heartedly would, collect stamps. And it would come and go in waves. But I had what I thought was quite a significant international and British collection of stamps. So I saw this opportunity to go in there and basically sell him my stamp collection so I could spend it straight away on Star Wars collectibles. So I fished out this album. I have a couple of albums, kind of strutted into this shop thinking I'm going to be minted here. I'm going to be able to walk out with something really tasty. And he flicked through this album, in silence, as these dealers often do, and he sort of looked at me and he went, "Yeah, it's probably looking at about 20 quid." I thought I was in for hundreds. And he said, let's if you want it in the shop now, let's call it 20, 25 quid. And the only thing that was in the shop that I could afford was an old pencil case with Ben Kenobi on it, a tiny little HC Ford pencil topper of, I think it's the Emperor's Royal Guard. So that's what I walked out with, and little did I know at that moment what that would open in terms of my collecting journey. I fell in love with it. I fell in love with that crazy, wonky little illustration of Ben Kenobi. It sparked memories of sort of kids having them at school, and yeah, that was the start of something big for me.
Love it.
Good story, that, Craig.
Yeah. I know that it used to really annoy Craig on the podcast when he used to come up and he used to record these videos or record a podcast on something like really, really obscure. I used to say to him, "Oh, your niche interests," and I know that word used to really irritate him. But I can spin round. I'm out in my room at the moment. I can spin round, and I can see things that Craig has affected my collecting. I mean, Tiki alone. I mean, you all came down to that. I mean, Craig was just put in remission on that summer when you all came down to my house for the weekend, and he was in high spirits. He looked good, and just Kimberly was in here making cocktails. But I turned around and I just got shelves and shelves of Tiki mugs because of him covering Tiki and his passion for something like Tiki, where you record a podcast and the way he gave the history, the backstory of Tiki and what it meant. And it just makes you listen and want to be involved in it. I mean, what was he did something really niche, didn't he? Quite late on last year. What was that?
Was it the Imperial Rectanglements?
Yeah. I think
that's awesome.
It is. What I'm saying is, it is kind of so left field, like so much of his interest. But when you actually sit down and look at it, actually, you're just like, wow, it's brilliant. Luana. I mean, those comics, and like he just touches you. How has he? I'm sure he has. How has he affected everyone's collecting? Yeah, because I believe he would have done to everyone. I know, Dan, I know you have.
Oh, Tiki
as well.
Tiki massively. I mean, I'm looking up on my shelf now, and I've got, what's this? The Bilton cups. So from the shot of Harrison Ford on the set of Empire Strikes Back. Yeah, that was his bit of research he did. He discovered them, and all of a sudden, everybody's posting up on Facebook. They've got one of these Bilton mugs, and they're, going for something that have already gone for pennies before. They're going for 20, 30 quid on eBay for a period. I haven't looked recently, but things like that, and the Tiki mugs for definite. I've got a smattering of Helix and things like that now, and through our journey, we've done deals on things. I think at one point we were buying Deco paper plates as a group. There was a job lot of them come up. I've got Clyro bubble baths and things like that. Just stuff that, I suppose I've described myself as a bit of a cookie cutter collector. I like my mint on cards and my box vehicles, but he definitely, spurred you to go down different avenues. I mean, the look-ins, I've got all of the, the Star Wars looking covers now, and you mentioned before about that blog, and it's superb. I mean, the amount of detail in there, the depth that he's gone to is more than the average person would go to. I mean, he didn't finish it. He's left an Excel spreadsheet of all the issues that he's managed to acquire and what's left to do. So I almost feel it's a bit of a duty now to finish it off for him. But he's definitely left a lasting impression.
Definitely. Anyone else? Has he touched your collections?
Well, I mean, it goes without saying that anything Helix, Letraset, Clyro, the UK sort of beyond the toys lines, as it were, he is the sort of the granddaddy when it comes to collecting those lines. Nobody really poured as much love into collecting that kind of thing as he did, and he very much led the way, and we all kind of followed. Really, it's down to him that I collect, and I have the same sort of passion that he did. Grant, I know, is exactly the same. Yeah, he's he's responsible for a lot of things in my collection and my cabinets, that's for sure.
And I think he's helped with the vocabulary as well, because I remember early on Generation Skywalker, we did a show, he did a whole thing about the term oddball and gimcrack and things like that, and how he really, I think that's one thing he probably was negative about, and he wanted to sell the Beyond the Toys. And I can't remember the last time I used the term oddball. I don't know if I've ever used gimcrack, but it's definitely stuck, the whole Beyond the Toys label now, and it feels like that's a bit more widely used than it probably would have been otherwise.
Indeed.
Gimcrack is just the worst word. That is like nails down, like fingernails down a blackboard for me. That is.
Just the posts that went with them. I've just sort of been looking back at a few of the blog posts that you put up, and just on those Chinese comics you mentioned, Stu, and you just sort of think, what are these? But the work you see a lot of blog posts in there, sort of a 5-minute read, but those you need to sort of cup of tea and sort of feet up, and you've got a good sort of 45-minute read and get into the history of everything and the in-depth information. It's just incredible.
He properly went to town on his blogs. There is one blog which I always used to laugh at him with, was his Brio.
Yes.
His Brio Wooden Railway stuff in the 90s. There's an alien which looks a little bit like Greedo. And I say, that is really grabbing, mate. But
yeah, I think he had many hits, but maybe that one just was a bit of a step too far.
I was looking at that one earlier on. Yeah. Yeah, the Imperial Entanglements, that one was brilliant. Rebellions are built on hops. He did so many brilliant play on words with regards to the blogs. I mean, from my point of view, you say about collecting and what do we have? I think I just want to be a bit more Craig. I think we can all just take a little bit of that in our life. But since Craig passed, I found all my eBay searches have been inspired by Craig's bits and pieces, what he was looking at, be it the Chinese bootleg comics, and then like Weingeroff, the Factors bits and pieces. That's what I'm looking at now, because maybe it just took me a little bit longer to see what Craig could see. And now I I have over the years, and it's really weird. I've got Craig's wooden pencil box in front of me, which I bought from him, I don't know, last year or the year before, as I was getting, more into Helix, and he upgraded his, and he knew that I was after one, so sold me this. And since he passed, I've just had it left out in my collecting room, just not with all the other Beyond the Toys stuff somewhere else. I've just had it left out because I just want to see that every day, and I almost acknowledge it, saying, "Hi, Craig," and it's really weird, I know, but I completely associate Craig with that wooden pencil box, which is in my collection room, and I love it for that.
You talk about his love of tiki and whatnot, and this is where Craig's engaging and likeable in that first conversation. Yeah, you think of some of the connections he made. He loved tiki, so he contacts tiki, and he becomes good friends with the people that are running Geeky Tiki. So much so, they send him a box of tiki cups to review over here that you can't get in the UK. Beer companies, let's do some beer shows. Connections straight away because of the way he is, the way he carried himself, which was incredible. I mean, we talk about memories of Craig. Celebration last year, we did that little event at the tap room where, as a team, we held a quiz. They got some beers made up. There's a beer swap. I mean, their passion just to organise that. The stuff that he had done. You've got to remember, he was quite poorly around Celebration time last year as well. The stuff that he did at Celebration, 2 panels, the beer show, and he was always attending stuff, always knew what he was going to do, went off in an evening, came to the Ash gig. I mean, he proper did everything.
And the swag. Don't forget the swag.
I'm just going to get onto that in a minute.
Yeah.
That was the swag for Celebration last year. We were all coming up with ideas, and I went to him. Wouldn't it be great if we could redo the Return of the Jedi sticker album with most of the stickers filled in, and then a few to collect? And I'm Craig, we're in about a week's well, I've done this mock-up. This is how it's going to work. And you're just oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah. It was incredible. And the Celebration he went to the year before in America, the paint by numbers pictures he done.
Poster art, yeah, it's brilliant.
It's just, yeah, we were always lucky at Generation Skywalker. You had Mark and Craig knocking out these ideas and this stuff, and you were just this is amazing. And actually, I'm gonna put Mark on the spot now, because I would love Mark, love for when Generation Skywalker do go to events, some sort of sticker which is Craig to do with Star Wars.
Well, you've given me good forewarning, so I can certainly have something in the pipeline. But yeah, no, I'd love to do that.
I would love to just give that out to people because I mean, you've only got to look at the outpouring of love for him online when Kimberly made the announcement that he had passed, and it was so nice to read from all corners of every group. So it'd be lovely for us just to give that back and say, a little bit of Craig. So whatever you can come up with to represent him would be amazing.
I reckon a tiki design of Craig
in one of his shirts.
Wow.
Yeah,
that would be brilliant. Yeah.
Stu, can I just say about the outpouring of love, the stuff which was coming out after Craig passed, but particularly I think the Toy Shop on Tours, the extra video which they put together from the previous visit, and the sort of tenderness shown there, or I don't know, I just thought that was a really, really lovely thing for people to see. I sat down, I watched that again with my wife, who had never met Craig, and just showing everything, and just seeing his collection, but the way he was with people. And if you ever wondered why he'd be such a good collaborator with the likes of Tiki, with the likes of Emperor Brewery and all of these other people, because you could just see it on that video of how he is and how he was with people, how he had time for everyone. And I just refer you back to that night in the beer tap place where we had it at Celebration, where he put together, him and Kimberly put together that beer event for Generation Skywalker. He was talking to us about it afterwards, he loved it so much because, you know, we were there and he said he just took a moment, and I think it's on one of our shows where he just said, you know, I looked at it and Craig, you were doing that, or, you know, Stu, you were doing that, Jez was doing that, everyone was doing this, that and the other. And he just said, that's magic. And I will never forget the way in which he said that, because I can just still picture this sort of enthusiasm and the smile on his face when he said that. He just saw the best in all situations, and the reason he was such a good collaborator was because it was infectious.
Well, he had all his worlds colliding as well that night, didn't he? I think Kimberly was massively involved. He had all the Star Wars things around him, and there's a load of his mates there as well. It was just kind of, yeah, obviously just had that, at that moment, just saw it and just thought, yeah, this is cool, it's all come together.
Craig often, I mean, we started up Generation Skywalker, you know, the backstory of Generation Skywalker's is out there. Me, Jez and Grant one night sat and had a Skype, and we threw names around to make a team, and obviously we approached Mark and Craig for design reasons but also their knowledge reasons. And Craig came to be take that word out completely. He was a vital cog in everything we did. Videos, the blogs, he hosted, he hardly missed a show. Like we just mentioned, the swag. He was constantly on it, and he enhanced all these shows, and we were like, is this too much work? And he was like, some of these shows were like 2.5 hours, and he was like enjoying it. And he always said that during his illness, Generation Skywalker, and he said it even on the last Skype, was a huge distraction and passion during that time to kind of take his mind off things and actually work on stuff and create stuff that he had a real passion for. Looking back now, I'm really glad. And he did say on that last Skype that under no circumstances must Generation Skywalker end. So that is something we need to make sure that we respect that and do what he asked. After the work he's put in and the basis he's laid and the foundations he's laid is there now for us to just run with what he set up. And he was an absolute pleasure to work with. I mean, the YouTube channel is incredible. I just want to highlight his last unboxing he did, because his sons are on it, and it is one of the most touching videos I've seen out there. It's beautiful. He unboxes this. What is it, Jez? You'll remember it.
Yeah.
Kind of
terrarium.
Yeah.
The Endor Forest terrarium, which was an exclusive at Celebration. And I think I commented saying, this is the most beautiful unboxing I've ever seen, or something like that. Because, yeah, go on, mate. Just say what you see.
It was really wholesome, wasn't it? It was it was personal. I think that was what made it. But I just want to, I mean, we've all recorded with him. What kind of highlights come to mind with him? Because he's, you know, his just general knowledge for stuff was incredible.
Collaborating was one thing, and recording, I think he was just great at bringing out. We've spoken about the tikis and stuff like that, but he did have a wicked sense of humour. And I remember when we were recording one of the Modern Ways, it might have been maybe it was the Attack of the Clones toys, but there was that Luke Skywalker from the final duel with he looked like Lurch. Do you remember that, recording that? It's just brilliant. He just comes up with these things out of nowhere, and we're all wetting ourselves laughing over it.
Well, what do we got? What don't we like?
Away from Attack of the Clones for a minute, the Luke Skywalker, was it called Throne Room Duel, where he's slashing the side of the railing in anger. That is hands down one of the most comical Star Wars figures in history. Gotta be. You all know the one I'm talking about?
Just trying to find it.
Let me put it in the chat.
Oh my goodness me. What is wrong with that cat? Who on earth clipped that?
His face. That is brilliant.
That's got to be some sort of bootleg.
You know the scene it's from, supposed to be, don't you? Where he's
I love that scene.
He's got a little handle in his back. Is that right? And he just
you just won this. We can't beat that. We found a way.
You should have gone last.
That face sculpt, look at it.
But it's not just a face sculpt. When you look at him sideways on,
from the back.
Oh my word!
He looks like Lurch from the Monsters from the back.
He looks like you know the Wallace and Gromit film when he turns into the rabbit. It's like he's halfway through the transformation into the were-rabbit with those teeth.
Oh dear.
Oh, that is just
Those overlong arms.
horrible.
I'll always remember that.
But it's just his insight into everything as well. I remember like the looking panel, which I don't think many people made. Well, quite a few people were there, but I think it was just crossed over with various events and celebration. And you just think, okay, it's a looking panel, but the way he just entwined it with the sort of the social history of the time, along with Star Wars, along with the magazine, so you got this complete backstory of everything that was going on and how Star Wars entwines with that. And it just set the scene. It was absolutely classic for anyone who was sort of like midlife, who grew up in the UK. It was absolutely perfect. And it was just kind of out of the zone a little bit of just more toys, more this, that and the other. It just kind of really, just very different, really good.
I think as well, I mean, aside from the kind of recording, obviously we put the shows out and people listen to it, but it's everything that goes on behind the scenes then to prepare that show. And Mark, you'll notice from when you were with us, it's kind of like you've just got this ongoing dialogue through Messenger and voice messages and quick Skype chats, and we just had that ongoing dialogue, for the last 4 years. And I look back through some of the messages with Craig now, some of the little voice notes he's finished. I mean, we said at the start, he was always so encouraging. I mean, when I started, I'd come on and I'd talk and that would be it. But then he'd help me through with, doing the YouTube videos or, creating enhanced. And I think I've done 3 enhanced videos out of all of the ones on there of mine. But, everything that you kind of learnt was through Craig. So he was always encouraging that creativity and sharing knowledge and, wanting you to get, better and up to his standard. He was very fussy about the quality of the images that we used in the enhance, and they had to be high def, and he showed you how to find the high def images, and that's stuff that, I know how to do now, and it's I wouldn't have known before. And he was always, pushing, but in the nicest way.
Yeah, I mean, I like I said earlier, that I had the pleasure of working with him professionally on a lot of projects. Obviously, Craig being a graphic designer and being freelance, and me being a sort of commercial artist. He had me involved in some of his projects, and he was an absolute stickler for, getting things absolutely bob on. And, if something wasn't right, he would let you know. One of the projects that we did work together on was actually for a piece of swag, and he wanted to create one of those, a miniature, the one that sets with the felt tip pens, and you got like a big black and white picture. And
yeah.
You got to colour those in. Yeah, he said, I want a couple of images like that. Can you do it? And I said, oh mate, they are like real works of art. I'm not sure I could do it. Oh no, go on, you can do it. So I spent like a Saturday doing one of these pictures. We'd agreed on I can't remember what it was now. I think it might have been an X-Wing or something. And I tried my best, and I sent it to him. I said, I'm not sure this is working. And he looked at me and goes, yeah, you're right, it's not working. And that was it. We put it to bed. But I'm so glad we didn't, because it wasn't right, and he would let you know if something wasn't right.
I was expecting him to be, yeah, it's really good. Yeah. I like it. He was honest.
No, he was brutally honest with me, and he knew I could take it. So I didn't want to let him down.
See, this is the thing with Generation Skywalker. You said he was, such a huge part of it. He was the heart or the brain. He was one of these vital components, because when you look at everything across the board, what we have, what we do, after he passed, when I look through our combined Instagram posts and Facebook, I was just like, my gosh, how do we carry on? And that's the thing, because Craig was just immersed in so much. He was the absolute, in many respects, he was like the conductor, which brought all of our constituent parts together to play as we do, right? And when you look at it, even at the bottom of the Generation Skywalker website, where it just says about us, if you don't mind, it just says Generation Skywalker provides an online resource of information and entertainment for anyone interested in Star Wars and its cultural legacy. Presented across key channels, our content is diverse as 'tis digestible and presented by upbeat and expert ambassadors of the fan community. If that's not a Craig paragraph, I don't know what is. But then throughout it all, when we see, you've already mentioned about the enhancements, we've touched on some blogs. His blogs were brilliant. But then also, he was the one who recognised, I'm sure it was Craig, because, he was the one putting them together. Let's do the mini versions of the enhanced shows. Let's have Skywalker Blasts, which are the shorter YouTube bits and pieces, putting those out, and then, a really good proportion of the unboxings. He reached into everything with Generation Skywalker. And I think one of the things which really sort of shows everyone this, it was at Christmas that he put together a montage of all of his artwork for every single show. So every single show has a really distinct artwork with different bits featured around the cube, which he said, right, this cube is going to be really, really important to Generation Skywalker. And he transitioned it in such a way. So this video, which plays showing all of the different show artwork and stuff, when you look at it like that, from the sort of complete holistic works of art from episode 1 to the very most recent one, it was just like, wow, that is top tier, first class stuff. And that's what Craig did. And, we were discussing this with him. And, when we were in the hospice, just saying, when he said, what are you going to do, Feta? And, we were just like, we're just not sure if we can do this without you. And he really wanted us to. He just, it was so important to him. As you said, he put so much into it. And it's a great tribute to Craig. That's the beautiful thing about the website and about the episodes and the shows, because I don't think I've listened to so many in such a short space of time. I just get a huge comfort from listening to Craig's voice.
You mentioned about like the little things. I mean, I can remember coming up with the committee as a concept for a show and saying that I was doing it so we had this countdown, these shorter videos we could put on YouTube, which are more consumable than a 2-hour show. And he came back with this like template to put the countdown in. Now, if you go and watch one of these, they're quite incredible. So there's all this, is it Oberish? It is, isn't it? Oberish writing. But actually, that translate, he's not just stuck any old symbols in there. It actually reads stuff about each person and all this stuff. I mean, It's really cleverly done. And he just produced this template out of nowhere, and it's made the videos easy to make. You just drop the image in there, and you've got this beautiful backdrop. So much work. And it's beautiful. And then you look at the shows. I mean, the one thing I could always rely on Craig was whatever I would come up with, he would be enthusiastic. Let's do a book month, boys. Craig, oh yeah, I'm really into that. And I know Mark really enjoyed it when I said, let's do an Attack of the Clones month. Well, let's do an art show, a costume show. Let's watch the movie. Let's do this and let's do that. And everyone was a bit like, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To tell you something.
Nearly broke.
that month nearly burnt us out. But I mean, the stuff that we came up with, and actually, I have got him saying, I really enjoyed that. I've really looked at that film in a different light, and I mean, like looking at the costumes, I can remember sitting down. I think it was just me, Dan, and Craig on that show. I can remember sitting down just chatting costumes, and we were talking about fabrics and sewing and stuff, and the research they'd done, it was just like, yeah, what a incredible month that was. But it didn't matter what you came up with, he just kind of this passion of yeah, let's run with it, let's see how it goes. And 9 times out of 10 it would come out far better than what you expected.
I mean, you mentioned the commentaries there. I mean, even what he did with those, the effort he went through to source the video and then to almost embed it into a TV set in a living room so you could almost watch the film along with us, with the commentary playing as well. It's just, he just went that extra mile every time, didn't he?
Yeah. So continuing on with the shows and how he touched Generation Skywalker, I know there's a couple of Skywalker blasts, you've just mentioned them, Jez, that really stand out to you, which are very Craigy.
Yeah, totally. So the Skywalker blasts, available on YouTube. You know, they vary in length, but Craig would just have these ideas and think, yeah, let's discuss that. That would be a good idea for a topic. So there was the Order of Appearance vintage loose run, where rather than majority of how people display their loose collection, in fact, myself also, which is, you know, the release order, his was no. Actually, Luke and Stormtrooper is going to be far earlier, you know, and TIE Fighter pilot, where does he come in? Right, bring that one forward. So it was a discussion about that's how it goes, because to your casual punter, the release order as they came out as toys doesn't make any sense, but to your casual user, it makes far more sense that way. So he just came up with this idea, you know, none of us else come up with these ideas. He came up with this idea. And it worked really, really nicely. So that was a good one. And then afterwards, he was doing one about how movie accurate the figures are with regards to accessories. It doesn't matter if Leah Hoth doesn't have a pistol, because it's still movie accurate. And we did this whole thing about, you know, were the accessories accurate and what were they like? And it's just an opportunity, a moment to be in Craig's mind. And then we all just ran with it. And I've just got good sort of memories of those Skywalker blasts, which are available on generationskywalker.com and also on YouTube. You just put a lot of passion into them. They're good fun.
You talk about him coming out with stuff like I mean, I wouldn't look at my collection and think I must go through and see actually who's got their weapons and films and stuff. But I mean, we used to record some committees, and he would come out with some of the most obscure answers, and you're like, what are you going on about? You know, like, really obscure left field. Yeah, you've only got to go back to the last committee we released, actually, when he came out with the Luke Skywalker dress-up outfit, and Dave Tree got really excited, and it ended up being in the top 10, didn't it? It was like, yeah, crazy. But he always looked at things from a completely different way than any of us would look at. And I go back to, we recorded this episode, The Island of Dr. Modesto, which was his old film. It had Tamura Morrison in it, didn't it? If I remember rightly. But we watched this film and the comparisons, and actually I watched the strangest film I've ever watched. But it made sense. You could see what Craig was talking about, and I wouldn't have sat and watched that film. Star Wars. But Craig did watch it like that, and then he would say, well, this, and this, I just like it. And you looked at it and you're like, you're right, you know, this whole half creature, half human kind of characters, and it was just, it was such a great look at something in a completely different way, and that's what he was so good at. That's what put him aside from everyone else, you know. We can all sit here and come up with, oh yeah, you know, what's your favourite white Star Wars figure? Brilliant, you know. But his whole take on stuff, and he's left massive boots to fill for when we're coming up with show ideas, because we need to keep some of these quirky looks and these complete left field takes on things. So
it was all about blending characters together, and hence, you know, the Walrus Man and everything else. Mark, I think you came up with Hedgehog Fella or something like that at the end. You definitely had a Hedgehog Man, but you were using the term fella as well, because you thought George Lucas would like that, because, you know, they were using the term man a lot. Does that bring anything back to you now?
No, I don't remember any of this.
It was definitely, because Stu wanted everyone to come up with their own thing, you know, because you'd spoken about the Gamorrean Guard, and there was a whole discussion of, is it Gamorrean or Gamorrean, and people were talking about that, and they were talking about Squid Head and how George would sort of mould, you know, or get a human and like a pig or a hammerhead shark and just create these creatures. And yeah, you definitely came up with Hedgehog Man or something like that. But yeah, Craig's mind's brilliant.
What's the show number on that? I need to go back and check this out.
Yeah, show 25, episode 25, Those Old Fossils 6. But public warning, because it's the Halloween edition, Stu's got a slightly different introduction, which when you listen to it for the first time makes you jump out of your skin, especially if you've got headphones on. So, yeah, 2020 Halloween special.
Go find Hedgehog Man.
Brilliant. I mean, those characters need to be on a T-shirt. So, yeah, let's give Mark another job. Hedgehog Man, Mark. Okay.
Hedgehog. No, Hedgehog Fella. Hedgehog Fella sounds much more.
Yeah, okay. And that leads us on to something else, which obviously was covered on a show. But Mark, you and Craig had this once-in-a-lifetime find for Letraset. Considering that's both a massive passion of both of yours, can you tell us about that? Because it was fascinating at the time.
You know, again, another sort of once-in-a-lifetime opportunity with Craig. I came across a lot of original Letraset artwork for the stationery range, which was long thought to have been lost to time, destroyed, or, you know, binned or whatever. It certainly wasn't in anybody's collection that we knew. And they came up in a lot in auction. And within nanoseconds of realising exactly what I was looking at online, I was on the phone to Craig. And I copied him a link to the auction, and within seconds he was phoning me, and we were sort of effing and blinding over the phone, hopping up and down, thinking, oh my God, how much money are we going to have to raise to buy this lot? It was just such an intense experience, that was, because right up until the auction, I remember it distinctly, there was one person watching it. It was an auction house down south, and where you could see on Sale Room, you could see how many people were watching the auction. One other person was watching it, and I booked a phone line, and I started bidding on it. We'd agreed a set amount. I was going to have to sell huge chunks of my collection to fund purchasing it, because we thought it was going to go for tens of thousands of pounds, but it didn't. And I'll never ever forget the phone call when we realised we'd won it for what we'd won it for. And it was just to hear the happiness in Craig's voice, knowing what he was going through. And it was just like, it was a proper gift. And then when we decided to do the podcast, Craig said, would he come down? We'll do a podcast together, and we'll sort of reveal the find. And again, going over to Craig's house and filming all of that. It was just a real magical moment, you know, a great experience to share with him, and to have been able to have given him something that meant a lot to him, because we came away with the original artwork for the pieces that we'd loved all this time, and we were now the owners of the original pieces. As a side note, I've applied to go on to Antiques Roadshow with that original artwork, and I shall definitely be mentioning Craig's name, because it's in my neck of the woods, filming my neck of the woods in May, and I've applied to go on. I'm just waiting to hear back from them to see if we can get a slot. So watch this space.
Amazing.
Amazing.
Really, can't wait for that.
It really is a great one. And fortunately, thanks to Craig's work on GenerationSkywalker.com, people can listen to that episode, which is episode 91, the Letraset Stationery Original Artwork Discovery. But Craig also turned that naturally into an enhanced one, which he said, we've not done a This Morning style sofa show before, so have a look and see how the format suits us. And it's a great show, both enhanced and just the audio one. Yeah, what a coup, what a score, and how thoroughly deserved as well, because, you know, two people who are absolutely cherishing and love what they got there. Nice one.
I was round his house not long after he got those, and yeah, he couldn't wait to whip them out and put them in front of me, and they are spectacular.
What about the Letraset?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I knew that was coming, Stu.
Yeah. Couldn't wait to get that in.
Do you think it's sometimes karma, though? I mean, those pieces just ended up with the right people. It's kind of, I can't think of a better place for those pieces in the UK. It just fits. I think that's what was so great about it. Yeah.
You talk about karma and places finding, or things finding the right place. That completely, again, with Karma and Craig, takes us to Old Fossils episode 9. Can you remember what happened with him and those Helix, the pack of 10 pens? Mark, I don't know if you can remember this.
Yeah, vaguely. I think somebody sort of got in touch with him and said, I've got a pack of 10 felt tip pens. How much are they worth? He got like loads of different things from his childhood, and this pack of 10 felt tips was one of the things that he said, and he he sold it to them.
Yeah. So what happened was, I mean, this just goes to show it's credit where credit's due for the work which Craig had put into his blogs, into his research about all the stuff about Helix in particular. So there was a man who found, I think it was in his mother-in-law's house, some Helix pens, and they were just about to give them to the kids or chuck them out. It was just an old pack of 10 Helix colouring pens. And he just something about the packaging just caught his eye, and he's like, well, hang on a second, and did a little bit of research. And one of the first things which came up when he was doing some research was one of Craig's pieces online. And so this guy realised, oh, hang on a second, after looking a little bit on eBay, a packet of 5 quite used ones, these have gone for a little bit of money. So he reached out to 3 different people, Craig being one of them. So someone who had a website, someone who he had seen online on Facebook group or something or other, and Craig, who he had originally reached out to on Twitter. So he reached out to these 3 people saying, right, this is what I've got. What do you think? And the good news is, it appears, or certainly what was declared was, no one was out to rip this guy off. Everyone was being very, very transparent and saying, you've got something really, really special. But I think something just clicked with him and Craig, and it just felt right. And I think it was also because he had seen what Craig had done online and the work which Craig had done bringing the Helix back together again and doing all sorts of other stuff. And the very reasonable offer which Craig had offered him for these pens, knowing that it was a very rare pen set. So I think Craig just appealed to this guy. He liked the cut of his jib, and it was the guy, his wife and his mother-in-law who just together went, right, of all the 3 people, we're going to choose this person to sell these pens to. It's a really lovely story on episode 9 because Craig gets the guy on to talk about it. And the guy ultimately says that when Craig gave him the money, he split it to 3 different charities, 3 different kids' charities and stuff. So it's a really, really heartwarming story. But from a karma point of view with the Helix, absolutely, that real sort of precious set of pens went to someone who really, really deserved it.
And I think in true Craig style, he continued the friendship with the guy as well. I don't think that was the end of their relationship. Yeah. But yeah, he's great for it. I mean, we've spoken lots about, him and, what he does in collection, but his collection as well is just outstanding. I've been lucky enough to go around his house 2 or 3 times, and it's just never ending. And, the way he had that bedroom set up with a desk, and you opened it up and it all lit up with all the Helix inside of it. And then, had it all going up his stairs and all the display of all the Helix electrosets and other, promotional Dairy Lee stuff. He just had it beautifully displayed. Yeah. We won't talk about his cupboard under the stairs though. His little office space. That was just, I think that's where he just stored everything else. But he loved taking you in there and going through boxes of stuff. It was always a fun visit.
You always left with a gift, didn't you?
You go around his house, he'd almost be like, do you want to come see the collection then? He just couldn't wait to take you around there and show you it all.
What are we looking at? We're looking at Chinese unlicensed Lian Hawanawa comic books. Can we all say that? We posted it. I mean, I love it. I think it's, we all need a bit of escapism, and I do like all that kind of vintage retro sort of lifestyle stuff anyway. So, Cheeky's long been on my radar, as Mark says. Shag's a great artist, and I love the style. 15 Star Wars fans that had come from all over the States, congregating in what was essentially like a neighbourhood beer club's brew house. And what they'd done is they'd all brought bottles and cans. They'd open it and they'd all sort of pour a little bit into the glasses. But what a wonderful way to go and meet people and get to know about their area, get to know their likes and their dislikes, all in this context of being Star Wars fan. To see Return of the Jedi with my regular movie-going buddy Mark Barham. And I was very, very hyped to it. It would have been in the Majestic Cinema in Scunthorpe. And I can remember going, I can remember queuing up, I can remember getting in the little vestibule and buying a packet of stickers. I was selling Return of the Jedi stickers. Clyro range from 1978, which just, for me, is a beautiful thing. It features some really, really stunning original illustrations of Vader across the whole range. But he features on his own label of both a standard shaped bottle of bubble bath, but also as this wonderfully naive blow moulded figural bottle.
He's got a giant head and tiny legs, and it's just a lovely thing that comes in this gorgeous window box that, should you ever flatten one out, reveals Vader in this Saturday Night Fever pose with his finger in the air, and it's just a great piece, absolutely packed with charm and just the essence of that era. And if you open the bottles, the smell of that era as well. I remember going into Metropolis Toys quite early on, before I really knew Chris, but we'd had at least one conversation about the fact that while he was very into premium, high-grade toys, I was into the sort of weirder stuff that no one really liked. And I remember going to the shop one day and going, something came in the other day. I saved it for you because I thought you might be into it. And he pulled out these 2 full Thomas Salter rub-down transfer displays that he'd got from an old newsagent. And it's like, wow. I felt like I'd made it. The fact that a dealer had something in the back room that he was saving for me. But a lot of my Star Wars time has been spent doing this. It has been a wonderful distraction. And, you know, we started off recording the shows back in, when did we do those? It was kind of January, wasn't it? We started putting them in the can, as it were. And that was, you know, massively outside my comfort zone. Do you know what I mean? I had to kind of get my head around that. And then, you know, we got into it a few months, and then we did the enhanced version of the Helix thing, and everyone was like, this is great, we should do this. I was like, yeah, we should. So once that bar is there and it's raised a little bit, you're kind of racing to meet it every time and push it further if you can. So I've loved it. I've loved it. I'm not going to lie. You know, it's been great, and it's taken me into areas of Star Wars that I would never have normally explored, and you know, I feel all the more richer for doing it.
Chaps, I think, I mean, we could talk all night about Craig and memories and things and the way he touched people's lives, and I'm sure we'll mention him so many times in the future because, you know, he's touched all of our lives quite clearly. Boys, it's been great just to chat about Craig tonight, and just remembering there's some great stories there. And I mean, Mark, the San Francisco trip, that story, thank you for sharing that. It was wonderful, and it's just a really sad thing, and it always seems to be the good die young, and it's another fine example of it.
I'd just like to say Star Wars is not just a film, it's a conduit. It's something that brings people together, and for whatever reason, people come and go out of your life all the time, but there's always one sort of constant. And when you're passionate about something like Star Wars, you get to make friends and get to know people and get to love them and cherish them. And all I can say is Star Wars has given me some of the most amazing friendships over the course of my life. I'm so lucky to have known not just you guys and Craig, but also so many other people. And all I can say is just cherish those friendships, hold them very, very dear. Yeah, the love of Star Wars is something that transcends just a very cool film. So thank you very much for having me on and having the chance to talk about Craig.
Yeah, wonderful, mate, wonderful.
I said before about, you know, how well he held himself through all of this, and, you know, I think most of us got to visit him in the hospice and spending that time with him. And it was just, even at the end, it was just like Star Wars. You know, I had a great afternoon there with him. I was, you know, I didn't know what I was going to walk into, and you know, he got up, gave me a big hug, and we spent the afternoon talking about Star Wars, and he was still looking at stuff on eBay. I think you were saying that. I've heard you say that, Mark. It was, I think if I was in that same position, I would have been, you know, the minute I found out, I'd be thinking about, you know, flogging my collection off, but he embraced it. He carried on, and it was something that he loved, and he wouldn't let it go. And I've taken that as a bit of an inspiration now. You know, I don't know the best way to explain it. Just to try and try and make the best of everything, I suppose, is the way to describe it, and do the things that you love, and don't worry about the rest, because it will sort itself out in the end.
Yeah. And lovely words, both of you. And Mark, thank you ever so much for coming on. I've got a line, I've got a little quote, right? Because The Last Jedi was one of the most diverse sort of divisive things in Star Wars, right? It really, really divided us. However, Craig, completely the opposite, brought everyone together, particularly, even since his passing, everyone's just come together because of Craig. But there's a line in The Last Jedi which I kind of link in, which, because of all of Craig's work, because of all his blogs and Skywalker Blasts and everything, Craig is forever going to be online. There will always be Craig's things for people to read and people to listen to. So the line is, no one's ever really gone. And I think when we have those get-togethers, when we have the echoes, when we have the Father's Drums and the celebrations and all the get-togethers, we're always going to be talking about Craig. But I just take loads of heart from the fact that his work is online forever for us to see and love.
Yeah, I think that cherish your friends is such an important motto and thing to take out of this. And another one that I think it was in one of the shows, I think it was the Helix, when he was working on that. I think he starts all that off by just it happened by not saying no, just saying yes to things and getting involved with people and events and where they take you, and look where that actually led. So yeah, incredible.
Well, boys, thank you all so much for tonight. You're talking about quotes. This isn't a Star Wars quote, but it was something I saw a few days ago, and it just explained Craig in one sentence, and it was, take love with you in all things that you do and leave only ripples of kindness behind you. And that's what Craig did. Yeah, he loved everything he did. He did it with passion, and everything he left behind him, everyone respected him. Everyone loved him. That's how he'll always be remembered.
Hello, it's Craig here, regular host, contributor and in-house designer at Generation Skywalker. It's funny. Star Wars is one part of my life where the extrovert in me regularly trumps the introvert. I can hold court, wax lyrical, and even summon up the nerve to co-host a podcast. I don't know. Maybe it's just my safe space. It certainly brings something out of me. And I think that's why I cherish the times when the people I hold most dear connect with this galaxy too. I don't expect anyone around me to be the fan I am, but there's something lovely about being in the living room, working on an enhanced show or an edit or a Generation Skywalker blog while my wife Kimberly plays Battlefront 2 in the background, shouting at the Roger Rogers and sipping a Star Wars themed beer. Most of all, I love that I got to take my 21-year-old son Ted to Celebration this year, and that he got such a kick out of cosplaying as Qui-Gon and hanging out with his girlfriend Kate. I love that my music-obsessed 17-year-old son Lachlan still has a little shelf of Wookiees in his bedroom, and I love that his twin brother Wilf embraces his middle name, Luke, and that he told me that his first tattoo of a fern leaf was a nod to Endor, even though it wasn't.
Boys, it's been wonderful to chat and catch back up and talk all things Craig tonight. I'd just like to say thank you especially to Mark for coming on and sharing everything with us tonight, but it is for the show. Goodbye from Dan.
Goodbye.
Goodbye from Pete.
Right, cheers guys.
Goodbye from Mark.
Bye.
Goodbye from Jez.
The Force will be with you always.
And it is good night from me. We are Generation Skywalker. All eras, all passions, all Star Wars.